Hi, this is Bob from Hobby Concepts, and today I'm back with part 2 of my XL750 build, the brand new Tamiya kit. Gorgeous new truck. I had a lot of fun building it. Got a couple little special details in there I think you'll like. We'll talk about the lighting, I'll talk about building the body, and show how I kind of run wiring and do some other things. Neat kit, turned out great. Let's get started. So welcome back to part 2 of the XL750 video. When we left off with part 1, we had our chassis complete just like this. I've got two little diamond plate pieces being painted right now. I glued these on. So the chassis is basically like we left. Chassis out of the way here. So now it's time to talk about the body. Now the body has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 pages, which I believe is more than the whole rest of the truck put together. There's a lot of parts in here. So the first thing is to put the mirrors together. That's pretty easy. And then we start doing things like putting in windows and building the upper structures. Now, a couple things before you get started on the body. They want you to decide whether you want the lower front fog lights or the upper front lights. I'm going to put both in since I'm using a Bayer SFR1. I don't have any limitations on how many lights I can use. And I am going to use a Tamiya speaker and speaker mount out of an MFC, mainly because I've got one laying around here and it just is designed to bolt right on. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to drill a couple holes in here and put 3mm white LEDs so I can have interior lights. And then I'm just going to go to work on this basically stock from that on forward. So the speaker here, interior lights, everything else will kind of be stock, except for I'm also going to punch out a bunch of holes in the dash and light up the dash. So I'll go to work on some of those things, get a few pieces put on this, put the mirrors together, and then we'll come take a look at it. Well, you can see here the speaker mounted and two LEDs to light up the interior. Now I'm kind of working on this front roof cap, and I'm going to start working on this top one. There's a light bar that goes up here, and then there's some lights that mount in this. They give you a backing plate that holds two LEDs and mounts inside here. The only thing I didn't like is the backing plate, and Tamiya does this on a lot of their trucks. They really neck down just tiny little holes in here. So if you put an LED, it just shows up as a pinprick. Now, I assume they're simulating what the real truck has, but I like brighter lights. So I'm going to drill those out with a larger hole. And then when I install my LEDs, I'll get a little bit more light out of them. And they just install in here with a clip. So I'm going to go ahead and mount these in here and put all this wiring together. So one of the things I was really interested in when I started this kit was this light bar that's on the roof rack up here. It's a long light bar, and I was fascinated to see how it works. So this is it. I'm getting it put together. Basically, there's the outer housing, and then this lens glues in, and I glued it in with micro crystal clear. It has a bunch of divots in the back, and then you put a white LED on each end which shines down it, and I'm assuming lights up the divots. So I'm anxious to see how that works. I'm going to go ahead and get this put together. It has a spot for an LED, and it mounts like this, and then screws on to the bracket here to hold it. So I get this put together, and we'll put some power to it and see what it looks like. I'm fascinated by how it's going to work. As you can see, I've got this assembled and lit up. Definitely brighter at the ends. Now the bulbs show, and I'm thinking that I might even just cover those with a little plastic cover to make the light bar itself shine up better. It obviously is lit up better at the ends than in the center, but overall it looks okay. And yeah, I think I'll make some little plastic covers, paint them black, glue them on there. We'll do that after I put them on. I drilled holes in the cap so I can now mount this, and I got the front cap ready to put on so I can do that. So I've got the front end on the cap, I've got the light bar mounted, I've got the decal. They give you two different choices, Globetrotter FH16, which I like that one. You can see that I've got the wiring kind of neatened up underneath. So now it's time to just install a bunch of the other components on the cap. There's air intake, there's a bunch of aero parts, there's the skylight. So none of these are hard, they just bolt right on. I'm going to go ahead and put those on. The other thing I've decided to do is these back windows in the cab are going to be looking straight into my electronics, and I'm going to make a bulkhead to, here's where the seats are, be a bulkhead here. Electronics will kind of be behind that, so I'm going to take these back windows and do exactly what I did to the top cap. I'm going to paint the insides of them with semi-flat black, so when I put them on they look heavily tinted and you won't be able to look through and see the electronics. So those are a couple things I'm going to do right now. Here's the roof cap with all the parts on it. With the aero pieces around the back, the parts of the air intake, got the sunroof on, quad lights here, and my light bar, of course. Still a little bit of wiring to finish up, but I'll do that when I put it on the top. This is the visor, which mounts up underneath here and then to the top of the body underneath. So now I need to go back and do the body parts, which are, the body's painted, but I have to do the mirrors, side windows, front window, get those mounted, and then once I'm up to that point, and we're showing the roof cap here, then I can put the roof cap on, and then the last part of the body is putting in the dash and the lower aero pieces. The hardest part is the front bumper and the lighting there, which is the last part we'll be doing. So I'm going to go put the windows in the body and get ready to put this cap on. There are a lot of parts on this. As you can see, I've got the windshield in, I've got the visor on, which I painted semi-flat black. I've got the mirrors on, the side windows in. And so now it's ready to put the top cap on. I pulled my speaker wires through and soldered a Bayer plug on it. So now all I have to do is solder a couple more wires here so that all my positive grounds go together, dump those through, and then bolt the cap on, and it screws up from the bottom side. Boy, this thing's really good looking. So I'll go ahead and get that done, and then the next step after that will be the dashboard, and then these two lower fenders, and then a couple of the aero pieces on the back. So that pretty much finishes up the body, and then it's the front grille, which is going to be an intensive project because there's a lot of lights in there. So anyway, we'll go ahead, get this thing bolted up, and start working on the dash. So just a couple details. I painted the dash. I decided to go with kind of a matte blue and a light gray, and it turned out really nice. I also lit it. You can see the holes drilled in it, and I've got some blue LEDs in there. So I'm going to go ahead and apply all the decals to that, and then I'll come back and show it to you lit up. The second thing is I put the rear aero panels on the body and the air intake. They just bolt on. and I want to talk about these lower side body panels, and they mount up here, and the instructions tell you to glue them on, but I hate doing that because they break off too easy. So I'm going to drill a hole through here and a hole through here and use a self-tapping screw to hold each one on. So I'll go ahead and finish the dash and bolt these on, and then we'll get the dash in and finish up the body. Well, here's the dash finished up. One of the things I do is spray clear flat over the decals, which really tightens up the look. And turn some lights off here. You can see the lighting. It's blue. It looks pretty good. It's probably hard to see on camera, but it'll look great in the truck. So now I can go ahead and glue the steering wheel on and get this mounted in the body and get those panels on and finish up that body. I'm closing in on finishing the body. There's this photo etched grill, and there's a backing piece that's just mounts over the top of it with these little teeny screws. I mean, these babies are so small. Smallest screw I've ever seen on a Tamiya kit. So they mount this with 4 screws. And then arrow pieces are in. Driver, we're going to talk about a driver in a separate video, and then I can go on to the front bumper clip. So I'll go ahead and mount this. That'll complete the body. I'll do a little photo shoot of it when I got that on. So I finished up the body, and I will come back in a little bit. There's some pieces that are taped on there drawing, and show you how it turned out. So now it's time to do this front clip, which to me is literally the hardest part of the whole truck because there's so many LEDs in it. This one's pretty straightforward. I've already taken these 2 chrome pieces and I painted the centers with the medium flat black and screwed those on. And then there's a clear plastic piece with a aluminum insert that glues on here, and I glued those on with micro crystal clear. There's a little decal in the back corner you don't want to miss. So now it's just this beautiful photo etched grill, which drops on here, has 4 of these itsy teeny screws that hold it on, and then this piece drops over the bottom and screws in from the back side, and these pieces screw down here in the front like this and hold it. So 4 little screws, 2 in the back, 2 here in the back, and we'll get this mounted up. Here's this front clip with the photo etch on it. It really looks good. So these light buckets were actually molded in chrome, but they have you paint them black. Now they showed masking a couple little areas in here, but I just sprayed them black. It doesn't really make any difference. And then they actually have a decal here that goes on, and then this lens will go over it, and then it will go in the backside like this. But before that, I'll have to lay out where I want the lights and put the LEDs. There's a combination of 3mm and 5mm, and I already drilled out the openings like I did on the other lights, so they were larger. So I'll go ahead and get these put together. There's my light bucket with the LEDs in it. So what I've done is wired them all up to run up each side. The way this chassis sits is these sit about right here. So I'm going to run all the lights up here and all the lights up here instead of trying to tie them together behind the bumper. That way when I pull it off, I can just pull it straight out. And what I'll do is I will take, I'll just do a little bit right here. I'll take some of the shrink wrap. I have some good sized shrink wrap, and I will fit it over the wires. all the wires. And that way I can keep all the wires nice and neat. So like that. And then I'll actually throw a few more pieces of shrink wrap on so it holds it into one nice neat bundle that'll run up through here. And I'll leave a little extra, but that way it'll, when it's all in one bundle, it'll keep it out of the tires. So I'll shrink wrap those up, and then these just mount. This clear lens fits over here, and then screws just hold it to the back side of the bumper, and the light bucket holds the lens in. So I'll shrink wrap those up, tie those together. That's looking darn good. Well, there's the front clip all put together. You can see the light bar here, and on the back you can see how I wired it. Now I had to drill a couple holes for the light bar wiring. I pulled that up into this harness right here, and I've got this harness right here. And in the past I've tried to hook these together back here, but I've never been successful because there just wasn't enough room. So what I'm going to do now, and I mentioned this earlier, is pull these up either side here, and then I'm just going to temporarily mount this on while I do the wiring. Now let's talk about the body, because I've got the body done right here, and I have a few little pieces of tape left on there, but you can see the body all finished. Now the body wiring I ran down into a plug, and then there's the speaker plug. So I've got the other end of this plug right here. I made this little plug, so this will go to the body, to the chassis wiring. So now the problem, and it's very frustrating to me, just so you know, is that, you know, this body attaches by pulling down here and then moving over the front, and then after the body's attached you have to bolt on the front clip. So to take the body off you have to unbolt this, and then pull it off, and you know then you've got to try to do all this wiring. It's just crazy. So I've now come to the point where I always do plugs on my body wiring, so I can wire everything up with the body off, and then just plug the body in, because you've got to take this front clip off to get the body on. So anyway, there's my Tamiya rant for the day. But anyway, so I'm gonna bolt this on. I'm gonna pull this wiring up here. I've got my interior here that once the wiring's pulled up will go on, and then I will do my behind the scenes wiring here and get that all done. Woohoo! So all my basic wiring is done. You can see the wiring here from the front clip going up, and it comes up on each side. Very simple. And all the wiring from the back, everything I ran into this one loom, which is going to sit right here. And I've got plugs to go into my Bayer SFR. And I learned a lesson a long time ago to mark them. So these will just plug in like this. My motor wires will plug in. You can see I have a plug on them. I'm actually going to cut these and solder them, so I hate the connections. My battery connectors here, and then I've got 3 servos, one for the coupler, one for the shift, and one for the steering. So that'll make this just a super slick installation. Then you can see I pigged off this tail for the body, which will just plug into the body wiring. And I'm going to do a separate video on how to make these connectors because it's super easy, and you can buy a little kit from Amazon, so watch for that in the next couple of weeks. These are slick as a whistle, and they're keyed so you can't get them backwards. Okay, so now what do I have to do? Well, I've got to mount my floor and then mount my SFR, run the battery wire down, plug this in, and then program the SFR. So I'll go ahead and get that done. We're just closing in on finishing this. So I've got my Bayer SFR all mounted. You can see I've got the two plugs in, the plug to the body, the speaker to the body. I put a plug on this for the motor, and I've got the battery plug, and I routed out this hole here for the battery plug to fit through. So now I'm going to go ahead and mount this. Now this deck mounts up here, and this is designed to mount an MFC on the back. I honestly don't know why Tamiya doesn't make that bigger. So I made a piece of plastic to mount to the back here, which will hide all my wiring. So I'm going to double sticky tape this on, and then I will mount this edgewise like that, so you can still get the card out. I'll put a servo extension on here so you can plug in a computer without taking the body off. And then I'll go ahead and tie up all this wiring and mount the receiver somewhere in here. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'm not going to do it on camera. I'll come back and show you what it looks like afterwards before I put the body on. So I have everything mounted, turn this here a little bit, ready to put the body on. So my SFR is mounted here. It's double sticky taped to the Tamiya base, and then I just made a little piece of L-shaped aluminum to stiffen this and this all up, and it's very solid. My receiver is down, kind of slides underneath the floor plate. This is the programming cable, which is dropped down underneath. The battery cables drop down underneath. So now all I have to do is put the body on, and that just fits over this back and then bolts down in the front. And be about ready to go. A few more decals. Let me get this body on. Oh, better get a driver figure in there before I do that. And as I mentioned, I'm going to do a separate video in the future on painting driver figures. Well, here we go. Just like that, it is done. So I'll go through kind of what we did here. First off, we'll take a quick look at the truck. So here's my nice view of the back. Really good looking tank arrangement. I painted the tank straps. Got some plated aluminum steps, and I used a plated aluminum gearbox. I added a little diamond plate, and I added a remote coupler. The rear end is basically completely stock, just as it comes. Another little quartering view here. Beautiful aluminum steps. I did add these little 750 decals on the side. It comes with big graphics for here, but I did not put those on, but they actually look pretty good. Here's the front. We spent a lot of time talking about photo etch parts. Really, really nice looking. Beautiful light buckets. Yeah, we got a light on there. Turn that off. Big, beautiful interior. That black bulkhead that I put behind the seats worked out perfect. You look in there, you can't see anything. So there is the 750. Now let me just kind of go through a few of the functions. I did put a Bayer SFR1 in here, and so I just want to talk about that real quickly, because that unit is perfect for this truck because there's so many lights. So I've got here headlights and fog lights right there, and we've got underglow lights. Now, you probably can't see those real well with all my lights. Let me tone down my lighting a little bit here. Blue underglow lights. And then I have marker lights. Now, the marker lights are on the side here. They're also down here in the lower bumper and up here in the upper front and back here in the back end. Okay, those are our brake lights, which are on because we're stopped. Okay, so that's that lighting. We've got some additional lighting in that we can do a dash light. Now, I know you won't be able to see that, but you'll probably be able to see the interior lights. Lights up nice and bright. You can see the driver good. The dash looks great lit up. I wish you could see it, but there's really no good way to show you on camera. And then we have the light bars. And the light bars actually look really good. I talked about covering these up, but I decided not to. And I think they look just fine. So there's the basic lighting. I've got engine. I picked a turbocharged Scania sound off of the buyer. Got my volume knob here on the radio. And I've got some horns. And there's a couple other horns in there. And I've got hazard lights. You can see there's double hazards here. And single hazards in the back. We of course have backup lights. And it's set so the hazards come on automatically when you're backing up. And you can change that setting in the SFR. This isn't an SFR video, I just kind of want to show you what the lighting in this truck look like. So that's kind of the lighting. It runs nice. Beautiful low speed. That 55 turn motor really does a nice job. And the buyer speed control is superior. It just really operates at a nice low speed. So there you go. At the end of this video, I'm going to take several still pictures and I will have those after the little copyright notice that has Winston the dog in there. And then I'll have 5 seconds for each picture, and I'll take some close-up pictures so you can get a good idea what the truck looks like. But there you go. That's our XL750 build from Tamiya, their newest kit. I love this truck. It is beautiful. It went together perfectly. I just think it's a great kit, and was really fun to build. So give this video a thumbs up. That helps me with the YouTube rankings. And please subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.